So as we noted at the end of the previous lesson, the drive method is essentially implemented once in the base class, in our automobile class, but I'm able to use it from the child class or the derived class. But what if I needed the truck's version of that method to be a little bit different? What if I needed it to be specialized and look like it belonged to the truck method with other truck-like kind of stuff? Well, what we could do is attempt to implement that method again here in the truck class. And so you can see we get a little green squiggly line. It says something about the new keyword. Let's table that discussion for a little bit. It's just a little warning, but what we want to do here is change this. The truck is hauling. Okay, so now when we call truck.drive, what will we see? The result will be that we're calling into our truck's version of our drive method. All right, so that seems easy enough, right? But what if I wanted to call the drive method polymorphically? In other words, polymorphism is another tenet of object-oriented programming. And I guess it's got Latin roots, the word poly meaning many and morphic meaning its shape. And so we can treat many different things that have a similar shape in a similar sort of way. So if we wanted to create some sort of a helper method here in our program main, I could create a private static, because we're working inside of a console application and it is called statically, so any of its members will need to be called statically as well. And we're not going to return anything here, and we'll just call this do drive. All right, very simple. And here what we'll say is we're going to take an automobile A. And since it's an automobile, I know it's going to have a drive method, like so. All right. So I should be able then to come here back in my static void main. And just so I can see the differentiation, let me do a right line real quick. And we'll just do that. And so then we'll call do drive, and we're going to pass in our automobile instance, right? And then we'll call do drive and pass in our truck. And now let's see what happens. All right, and so you can see in this particular case that essentially what we've done is cast our truck to an automobile, and as a result of that, we're no longer getting that version of the drive method that belongs to truck. We're getting here in this second line where we make this call to the truck's drive method here in our helper method. We're getting the base class's version of the drive method. There's no mention of truck, and it's driving, not hauling. So how can we remedy this? Well, that's going to be the subject of the very next video. So you can see that in a very limited situation, we can essentially override the version of the drive method in a very simple scenario, because we're dealing directly with the truck.drive method. But whenever we want to deal with that drive method in a polymorphic sort of way, we get the old original base class version of drive. How do we solve that? Well, let's solve that in the very next video. There's two keywords that will help us out. All right, we'll see you there. Thanks.